Trump, Biden, here's how the Wall Street Journal puts them all together tonight. With fewer than 100 days until the election, the main threat to Democrats is overconfidence, which can breed recklessness. For the most part, the Biden campaign has avoided this trap. But on the issue of federal law enforcement officers in American cities, the presumptive Democratic nominee risks losing his balance. So let's unpack that in all the day's news with GOP Senator John Kennedy of Louisiana. Senator, welcome back to the program.
Thank you, Shannon.
All right, the Attorney General had to answer a lot of questions on the Hill today about federal agents, their role in these cities and what's going on. I want to play a little bit of an exchange between him and Congressman Hank Johnson. This went to the Roger Stone sentencing and accusations that Bill Barr is doing the bidding of President Trump and not serving the American people.
You think the American people don't understand that you were carrying out Trump's?
I was not. I had not discussed my sentencing recommendation with anyone at the White House or anyone outside the department.
Wanted you to do, and that's what you did.
No.
Attorney General.
Let me ask you: do you think it's fair? Do you think it is fair for a 67-year-old man to be sent to prison for 7 to 9 years?
It was in accordance with the sentencing.
No, it was not.
All right, so, Senator, that's a lot of what we saw today is that when the Attorney General did want to give and flesh out his answers, the members generally said, reclaiming my time, and it didn't seem like they wanted to hear from him at this hearing today. What'd you make of it?
I watched bits and pieces of the hearing, Shannon, but I finally turned it off because it was triggering my gag reflex. It wasn't a hearing. It was an attempted persecution. I think the American people saw that. The point that some of my Democratic colleagues seem to be trying to make was that the Attorney General was out of control. But what they really mean is that he's out of their control. Bill Barr is guided by the rule of law, and he doesn't do anyone's bidding. He calls it like he sees it. I thought he was his, for the most part, his usual unflappable self. And he's tough. You got to be tough to be in that job. He's tough as a pine knot, and I respect that about him as well.
He had to answer a lot of questions about a number of things and face a lot of accusations that he wasn't allowed to answer. There were some disturbing allegations that were made today. Congresswoman Jayapal tweeted this. She said, Bill Barr is aggressive towards Black Lives Matter protests, but not armed right-wing extremists threatening to lynch a governor. Why? Because white men with swastikas storming a Capitol are part of Trump's agenda, while people of color protesting injustice are seen as terrorists. It appears she's making a comment regarding protesters at Michigan State Capitol. There were swastikas, but as Rich Lowry points this out, he says a few protesters, in particular a widely photographed woman with a Heil Whitmer sign, used swastikas to depict the governor as a fascist, obviously a ridiculously over-the-top chart, not to identify themselves as Nazis. It is an important distinction, but what do you make about Congresswoman Jayapal's accusation that the AG wants to protect white racists and not people raising the concerns of Black Lives Matter?
Well, I would say that she's very well versed in the stuff that she makes up. That's just not true. I've said this many times, but I'm going to keep repeating it. The American people are not morons. A lot of people in Washington, D.C. treat them like that, but they can see what's going on television. These are anarchists who hate America. They think America was wicked in its founding, and it's even more wicked today, and they want to tear it down. And unfortunately, we have some Democratic mayors, they seem to be mostly Democrats, who are holding the police back. And if we were not sending in federal law enforcement officials, the anarchists would burn down every single building in the city. And I don't understand that. That's not the rule of law. And if that's what the people of Portland want, I guess they're getting what they want. But to me, it's not what the American people support.
All right, let me ask you, are you making a distinction between what she referred to, the black versus those you are calling anarchists? Are you calling those two different groups? Are you putting them together?
No, I am talking about, I was responding to the first tweet that you read to me. I think that what we see going on in places like Portland and like Seattle and like Atlanta, these are not peaceful protests. They're nihilist goons. And to say that Bill Barr is a racist and is a white supremacist is just not accurate.
Let me ask you this. We have heard later this evening that more than 100 police agencies are no longer going to respond and assist when it comes to the DNC. In part, they're worried about the fact that they can't use pepper spray, tear gas, other crowd control tools that they think they're going to need potentially in that situation. A quick comment from you on that news tonight.
Well, that's what happens when you defund the police. That's what happens when you idolize criminals and you demonize law enforcement officials. And I have no doubt that our local law enforcement officials could safely protect every one of us if the mayors of these cities would allow them. But they're not allowing them, hence the need to send in additional help in the terms of federal law enforcement. That's not racist. That's called obeying and upholding the law.
Well, that is a point that the Attorney General made numerous times today. It probably was very frustrating for a lot of people involved in that hearing today on all sides. But as you noted, it was an interesting day on Capitol Hill, as it often is. Senator, thanks for coming back.
Thanks, Shannon.